Hello, my name is Aubrey, and today I am here with an unhaul. I very recently did a bookshelf organization video in which, of course, I went around and I looked at my shelves and I picked books that either were redundant, maybe I had upgraded to special editions. I picked books that I was no longer interested in, and some books that I was maybe disappointed in. So that's what I have for you today. There aren't too many, so hopefully we can get through this pretty quickly. Alright, now don't panic with this first one. I have The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. Now, this is my current favorite YA fantasy series. I adore this series. However, I have upgraded to these gorgeous Fairy Loot editions back here, and I therefore do not need these normal editions anymore, and I'm really excited to be getting rid of these. I thrifted them just ages ago and they are so beat up. They are so sad. You see a little rip on the spine here. Like, they have seen better days, and I'm really, really happy to have a much more beautiful set that represents my love of this series. I adore this series. It's about a group of pretentious yet lovable teenagers who are looking for a Welsh king to grant them a wish. It's weird, it's wonderful, it has just some of the best found family elements. They're funny, they're strange. I highly recommend the series. I just don't need these copies anymore. Alright, next up I have books 2, 3, and 4 in the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon. I bought these not too long ago, kind of annoyingly, and then Bloomsbury decided to give them these like stunning redesigned anniversary covers. I love them so much. I have so far bought the first and the second one from the Broken Binding. I just pray that they stick with it, because this series has had so far 2 cover changes. The original covers had this really cool design, and then with book 3 they gave it a cover change. This and all of the paperbacks got this new design, and then they went back, and with book 4 they decided to continue with the original style. The third book just was never gonna match for anybody, so I feel like they're trying to rectify that, and I absolutely love the new covers. I mean, are they gonna carry on with this style also? I just feel like you should never have cover changes in the middle of a series. I just think it's rude. I mean, unless a series is just not selling, I don't think it's worth it. And as far as I know, this series was selling pretty well, so I don't know why they did this. Alright, full disclosure, I may have just talked myself out of getting rid of these next ones. Alright, I have the Jacoby Quartet by William Ritter. I've had these sitting on my shelves forever, which is why I pulled them off to Unhaul. The tagline of the first one is what totally got me. I'll be honest, now that I'm looking at it again, it's sort of getting me all over again, but the tagline is Sherlock Holmes crossed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which honestly, I mean, who wouldn't want to read that? But I don't know anyone who's read this series. I don't know if it's any good, so I don't know. I love paranormal stuff. I love mysteries. I love that combination, but I've had them for so long and I haven't read them. If any of you have read this series, you could probably change my mind about this. If you love it and you think I should hold on to it and read it, feel free to convince me, because I'm like really on the fence. Alright, next up I have another, Don't Panic series, and it is the Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson. I love this series as well. I just now have the Fairy Loot editions, which are gorgeous. They're way up there. I don't need these covers anymore. I think they're kind of, I don't know, they're sort of charming in their particular period of time for YA fantasy covers, like the girl and the bad photoshopping. Like, this was just such a trend for a long time, but I really hate like realistic looking people on my covers, so I am happy to get rid of these and keep the Fairy Loot ones, which I love very much. For a series that I adore, this is a YA fantasy about a princess who runs away from an arranged marriage. One night she starts to get wooed by 2 men, one of which turns out to be her betrothed prince, who she didn't know, and the other is an assassin who's there to kill her. She has no idea who they are, and we as the readers don't actually know who's who, and it's kind of a fun trope, but I think the series gets even better with books 2 and 3, which obviously I won't talk about here for spoilers, but I think this is a really underrated YA series. I highly recommend it. Try it out. I'm just gonna be passing these editions along. Alright, next up I have a stack of books that I've just kind of lost interest in, or that I don't really want to read anymore. The first one is The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. I have had this for ages and ages, and even though I've read The Cruel Prince and I did really love that series, I don't feel that compelled to read anything else in this world. I know that this takes place in that same universe, as well as there are like some other fairy novels she put out very early on. I don't know, I just don't feel super compelled to read this. I feel like if I did want to read it, I could get it from the library very easily. So I think I'm gonna let it go, as well as The Coldest Girl in Cold Town. I think this is a vampire novel. Again, I've had this for ages. I haven't read it, and I just kind of feel like at this point I'm not going to. And if I did want to, I could get it from the library very easily. I also have The Red Scholar's Wake by Alette de Bodard, and this was an Illumicrate edition. It's really pretty. It's a sapphic sci-fi, and that's all I know about it. I am gonna let this go because the reviews for it, unfortunately, are quite bad. Goodreads rating is really low, and I just don't think I'm interested in reading it, so I'm gonna let it go. I also have Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee. This is a art heist novel, and I thought that I might be interested in reading this because I don't mind a heist, but I am primarily a fantasy sci-fi reader, and I just don't think this interests me. The reviews haven't been that great, so I'm gonna let this one go. Next, I have The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Daniel Page. This is about a group of sorority witches, but again, I think the reviews for this have not been that great. I was keeping an eye on reviews for the sequel as well, which I think only had like pretty mediocre reviews, so I'm passing it on. Next, I have The Devil Makes Three by Tori Bovolino, and I just don't really know anything about this book. I don't know anyone who's read this. I don't think I'm interested in reading it, so I'm going to let it go. Next, I have We All Fall Down by Rose Svabo, and while this edition is stunning, the reviews for this are very, very low. It currently has a 2.52 on Goodreads, and there are a lot of complaints about some problematic elements in the story, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass it on. I know some collectors will want it just because of the stenciled edges. Hopefully it can go to a good home. Alright, next up I have books 1 and 2 of The Expanse in these big floppy paperbacks, and while I do love a good floppy paperback, I did recently find the hardcover special edition for this. I think I would like to get the matching books 2 and 3 in those hardcovers because I just think they're really pretty. I have thought about holding on to these in the meantime just for the comfort of reading them, so I may just set them off to the side for a little while and see, but at the end of the day, I am a hardcover collector. I like hardcover books. I think they look really nice on a shelf. I think they hold up better over time. I don't need these paperbacks anymore. Alright, next up I have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and while I love this cover, I hate this sticker. I hate it so much. Why did they do this? I upgraded to the like white and gold edition. It doesn't have a sticker. This just pisses me off so much because when I bought the book, this sticker was not in the picture. I don't know why they keep doing this to us because everyone I know hates this shit. I don't like, does this Joyous by Neil Gaiman really help sell this book? Like V.E. Schwab isn't enough to sell her own book. I don't get it. Alright, next up I have The Cruel Prince trilogy by Holly Black. Now I did really enjoy this trilogy. I just have these editions back here from LitJoy that are stunning, and I no longer need normal editions of them. I just don't like having multiple copies of books. I don't know what that is. I feel like that is a pretty normal thing on BookTube to do, is to have multiple copies of books, have lots of different editions of books that you like. I can't stand that for myself. Like, I'm not judging anybody who does that. I don't want to give that space up for something else. You know, like it's redundant. With the exception of my Alice in Wonderland collection, typically I do not like having multiple copies of books. These are gonna go. And on a similar note, I have the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, these white paperbacks. I do love these editions, but I have the hardcovers. And when I bought the hardcovers, I figured that I would unhaul these, and then I just sort of couldn't bring myself to unhaul them because I also really liked these. Plus, these editions match the other UK paperbacks that I plan to collect for Brandon Sanderson's other novels, and so for a long time I was like, well, I could have both just so that I have these to match, but I don't think I want to. It's fine. I'm just gonna let them go. Sorry if the lighting changed. I had to shut my curtain so that the light wasn't totally in my eyes. But next up I have the Shatter Me box set by Tahira Mafi. My saga with these books has been so funny. I had the original trilogy in paperback, and I unhauled them, I think in my first ever unhaul, because I just thought that I had outgrown the series. I didn't want to ever reread it. And then last year I reread them on a whim. I fell back in love. I was like re-obsessed with the series, and I bought this box set thinking that I was gonna love the whole series because I had planned to continue, and then I hated the second half. Like, I truly think books 4 through 6 are garbage. Like, hot garbage. While I don't think the original trilogy is a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, they are fun, and like, they're bad, but I think they're a fun kind of bad, but the latter half is just bad. It's just bad. It does the series dirty, it does the characters dirty. I don't know what she was thinking. They're way down here, but I did end up buying the original trilogy in the Fairy Loot editions when they reprinted them, so I have pretty copies of the first 3, and I do not need these paperbacks. I don't need these. I don't want them to exist at all. This is gonna go. Alright, and last but not least, I have Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. These were so disappointing. I thought I was going to love these. These should have been so my thing. Quirky fairy tale romance, whimsy. The covers are gorgeous. Like, I just was so prepared for this series to be a 5-star series for me, and it's just not good. I also read Stephanie Garber's Caraval series in preparation to read this series, and that was also just not a very good series. It was just not very good. I find Stephanie Garber's plots to be unbelievably messy. So in the writing world, there are 2 kinds of writers, and there are the plotters and the pantsers. And plotters, of course, sit down and they plot out their novels, and pantsers will sit down and write a book by the seat of their pants. You can tell that Stephanie Garber is a pantser. Like, she is sitting down and making shit up as she goes. I don't know, they're just like nonsensical. The world building elements are just sort of thrown in. There's no foreshadowing, there's no build up. She just sort of introduces stuff. Things get thrown away just as easily. Like, it's absurd to me, and it's absurd to me how popular these books are. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Huge disappointments. A big no from me, and I will be passing these along. That's it for my book Unhaul. Not too many. I have been trying to be a lot more mindful about what I'm bringing into my house. I've been using a lot more skips in my book boxes and trying to do more research on what books are, being chosen and things like that. Are there any books that you have read recently that you need to unhaul from your shelves? Let me know in the comments. If you want to see my last book unhaul, I will leave it right here for you. Please like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I hope to see you next time. Bye!